Okay, here we go. All right. So, first, do you have any questions for me? You may want to pull up your outlines on your laptops or on your phone so you can look at them as we go through this feedback. Remember, if you are satisfied with your grade, you don't have to resubmit. That'll be your grade. But if you would like an opportunity to get a higher grade and use this experience as only a draft, feel free to email me your new draft, all right, through email.
When do we have to have the new draft to you by? I mean, obviously sooner is better, but what's the latest date for that?
Honestly, if you are just worried about mechanics, if you get it to me by the end of the module, I will give you that credit.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
If you want it so that it's going to help you to prepare your video recording, send it to me sooner. So I'm going to let you make that call. It's a great question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so if anybody was asking to repeat her, let me repeat her question. She asked by when the rewrite needed to be submitted for credit, and my answer is as long as it's turned in by the end of the module, unless you want to get feedback before you actually do the delivery of your speech. You want to do it sooner. Okay. So let's see, we have, let me do a clarification. A couple of you have this a little bit mixed up. A general purpose should be only 2 words, to inform or to entertain, which is what you should have for this speech, or to persuade. Big generalities, all right? The specific purpose then is where you narrow it down. So if it's, for instance, to entertain, you can say, the guests at my brother's wedding. All right? That's your specific purpose. Okay? So you know that the focus is on the guests, and you notice it's about your brother's wedding, etc. All right? So that's what we mean about the general purpose and the specific purpose. In your introduction, all right, you should have only one thesis statement. Now, some of you had your thesis statement listed twice in the introduction. No, you only do it once in the introduction. Now, you have already put it up here, so you have your general purpose, specific purpose, thesis statement. All right, you have your visual aids and your stage directions. Okay, so that's above your script. Everything that comes underneath here is your script. All right, it's a script. It's what you're going to actually be saying. I don't expect you to memorize it unless that helps you. You don't have to worry about saying it exactly word for word because we're using extemporaneous style of speaking where you're going to refer to your notes, all right? But it's what you should be saying, which means you're doing it in first person. You're doing it as I'm talking to you right now, all right? So I am explaining this to you, okay? So that's what I mean by writing in first person, and make sure it's a script. Not in third person, as if, well, this is what I'm going to do. Okay? And so under here in your intro, all right, you only now list your thesis statement one more time. So you got it up here and you have it here. Don't put it twice here. Now, some of you may have your thesis statement combined with your central idea, combined with reveal topic. That's okay. Let's just be one sentence, one statement. All right. Also in your introduction, you got to have a preview. And then, oh, excuse me. Excuse me. And the preview, and some of you have included that in your thesis statement, and I will absolutely give you credit for that. But if you did it, then you need to make sure that you have a preview where you actually tell your audience the 3 main points. So today's lecture, I'm going to talk to you about 2 main points. First, I'm going to talk to you about due dates. Second, I'm going to talk to you about feedback on your speech outlines. So that's what you want to do. You want to give them a preview of what you'll talk about. Transitions. I recommend strongly that you put those in italics. I would put them in italics and bold. You don't have to, but that's just a recommendation. But what you do have to do is have a label for every item in every part of your speech. So make sure you say preview, thesis statement, and your label should be short. It should be very short. It doesn't need to be that long sentence for those of you who are using the template. That's just to tell you what to do. So you should have preview, relevancy, credibility. All right, your greeting, your attention getter. Okay, bold those so you know not to read them, and keep them short because what comes after that is what's important. Okay, any questions so far? All right, now this is where a few of you are having some problems, and this is a warm-up for what's coming later. If you have taken English 111 and 112, this will be a piece of cake for you. For any of you who have not taken English 111, this will be a little bit of a challenge because this is new for you, all right? This public speaking class is Communication 231. It's a 200 level class. We don't have a prerequisite that you have had English 111, but there's some basic knowledge of proper citations to help you. So I'm going to teach you what those are in a communication style. I want to talk about attributions. Everybody look at the references section on your graded rubric. You should have, for this speech, a minimum of 1 source listed at the bottom of your outline under references. At least 1. All right? And it should be something, or it needs to be, it has to be something that you're going to actually refer to in your speech. Now you can have additional references, such as a how-to article that you read about how to give a speech. That's fine, that's an additional. But you must have at least 1 actual source that you tell your audience, okay? Now the reason for that is, again, we are building your skills and your knowledge. We only need 1 for this one. For your next speech, you're going to need 3. And the next speech after that, 4 and 5 up to 7, etc. Okay? So that means that you are going to, when we say attributions, that means you are going to give credit, right, to the author of whatever it is you're using, right? Now, most of you up there under resources, I said you need at least one. Then everybody now look down to where it says main point, and it says required amount of sources. So for this speech, it's one. With complete attributions noted inside your speech for your audience, all right? There are 3 elements that make an attribution complete. Who, where, and when. If one of those elements are missing, then it's not complete, right? The who means who's the author. And it could be a person, or it might be an organization. So it might be Dr. John Hart, or it could be the American Heart Association. Okay? But you got to do the who's the author, who's the original author. The where is the location where you found it. And it could be as simple as saying on their website, or it might be in a Ms. K's lecture. Who knows where it might be, okay? Or in a book, or in an article, or in a video, okay? So that's where you found it. And the when can be as simple as, I found it yesterday, or it could be an actual date of May 2015. Okay? That's what we mean by attributions. That's what means down there where it says, according to the who, all right, published in, or seen in, or whatever, accessed on, or viewed on, or heard on, etc. Okay? All right. Let me pause and let me look at you guys. Do you have questions about this? So for this kind of a speech, many of you saw that I wrote things like, you could, I want you to pick something appropriate. So it could be a famous quote, or it might be a scripture verse, possibly a motto that you and your best friend live by. It could be a very famous saying that everybody knows. It can, a lyric from a song, a line from a song, lyrics. It can be anything, but you need to be somewhat creative in what you find and make it, of course, relevant. Okay, like the thesis statement at the top, where you only say it once in your introduction, the same thing goes with restate in your conclusion. So in your conclusion, you're only going to restate your thesis statement or your specific purpose or whatever it is. You're only going to state it once. Don't have restate thesis statement, restate main points. You might say, let's review the main points. Okay, well, that in itself is a summary, and that's all you have to do. This should not be long, but some of you need to work on your memorable thoughts and your attention getters, okay? A greeting is not an attention getter. Now, let me give you an example of an attention getter. Quite a few years ago, I used to teach in a Catholic school in Oakland, California. And I was tasked with doing sex education. And one of the things, now this was, even though it was Catholic school, we had, because it was in the Oakland area, it was a safe school for people of many different ethnicities, races, religions, etc. So we had many people there who were Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, evangelical Christians, Catholics, Christians, Jews. We even had quite a few people who were agnostic or atheists, all right? So with a mix of a lot of people who came in, one of my favorite classes to teach, actually, is something that I would do, and this is how I would start the class. Hello. As I was drinking my morning coffee today, I happened to scroll the latest report from the Center for Disease Control. And what I discovered was something a little bit unsettling. And it's a prelude to what we're going to talk about in class today. It's a statistic that was just published last month that says now that 8 out of every 20 high school students who graduate is going to have a sexually transmitted disease, STD. 8 out of 20. Look around. We have 22 students in this class. 8 of you are going to graduate with an STD. Today we're going to talk about prevention, blah, 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 okay? So do you see? Did I get your attention? Well, every time I talk about sex, people get excited. Yes, no, maybe? Are you there? Hello, are you awake? Give me some feedback. All right, so did you see what I used? I used a startling statistic. I gave a source for the statistic. I said the who and the where and the when, all right? That's what you need to do, and that's a way of grabbing the attention of an audience. Now, coming to the end of that class session, I would say, as our memorable thought for it, is I say, well, it's time to wrap up this session. And so I want to close, since I'm not going to see you guys again until next week, with something to think about. I remember I gave you that statistic of 8 out of 20. Let me ask you, with the decisions that you're going to make based on the information that we talked about today, are you going to be one of the 8 or one of the 12? Think about it. It's all a matter of choice. Make your choices carefully. Have a good day. All right? So that's examples of delivery. Now you notice my voice came down. I changed my tone. I was serious. But what I did was I connected my attention getter with my conclusion, my end with the memorable thought. I wrapped up the speech, the talk, all together. So when I give speeches, and even today, and I did one for faculty retreat before we started back this semester, I did that exact same methodology. I started off with startling information, and then I wrapped up that talk with bringing it back to that startling information and resolution for it. And that's what you need to be thinking about as you are giving your speeches. The organizational structure is critical, right? So if I said that you need to work on your memorable thought, that's what I mean. And you need to make those connections between your memorable thought and your and the starting of your attention getter. All right, now I've talked about attributions, and let me talk about this. Some of you even said you were going to riff. Okay, no, not in my class. No bullshitting, no winging it, no, yeah, well, this is just what I'm going to talk about on an outline. No, 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 no. If you want to transfer out of my class and take a different instructor, you may, but pretty much we're all the same, okay? This is not a time for you to just think, oh, people already said I was really good at talking in front of people. I'm just going to get up and, I'm just going to shoot the breeze, or I'm just going to kind of, have a few lines of notes or a few keywords and talk. That works only for what are known as impromptu speeches. That does not work for professional speeches. And that's what I'm preparing you to give. Professional speech or talk like you would give in your history class, or a project presentation, or at the Rotaract Club, if you decided to join that as an adult, or at whatever, standing up and making a testimonial at a church service. Lots of opportunity for you to use this skill set and this knowledge that you're learning. All right, so I hope we're clear on that. I already talked about pause. And now what I'd like to do is talk a little bit, no, let me go back and answer your questions. Okay, any questions? Please ask.
What are the labels? I'm looking at my group, like my graded rubric, and that's pretty much where I lost all my points. That was the labels. What are labels?
Okay, excellent. Thank you for asking that question. When you are looking at your outline, okay, so when you were doing your greeting, do you have the word greeting, ... bolded first? Or did you just say, hi, my name is? Okay, this is your label. This is your eye and mind cue that that's what you're going to do after this. So if you're going to do a greeting, you probably want to be smiling and happy and that kind of thing. If, or let's say that you are going to give preview. That needs to be written there in your introduction. And that is a cue now for you to go, first, I'm going to do a review of how everybody did on their outlines. And second, I'm going to talk about you about some delivery methodologies.
Do they need to be folded and stuff?
I recommend bolding, yes. I recommend bolding because you need it to be a differentiator from the rest of your speech.
Okay.
So, and basically, these are all your labels. Everything on your outline where it says greeting, attention getter, relevancy, credibility, thesis, those are your labels.
So I might Zoom call you like later in the week because I have those. I just didn't fold it, so I'll get with you like more direct to figure out how to.
Sure, but look to make sure that yeah, I'll be happy to. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, good. Any kind of personal questions, we can definitely do a Zoom call, or you can send me an email. So sure. Okay, good. Thank you for those questions. Anybody else? All right. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about hands and a little bit about faces. And I'm going to talk a lot about other delivery methods when we meet next class. But for now, let's just start about hands. Has anybody ever seen Talladega Nights? Anybody see that with Will Ferrell? Okay, it's an old movie, but it's hilarious. Anyway, it demonstrates a race car driver who's interviewed after winning a race. And so he's got, the mic in front of his face with the reporter, and he's standing there ready to talk. And he doesn't know what to do with his hands. And so he's like, so what do I do with my hands now while I am interviewed? Okay. Here's what you do. You can use what's known as this is what I call the Oprah Winfrey. If you ever watch Oprah Winfrey, you'll see that this is what she does. If you ever watch Sports Center, you will also, or ESPN, you will see that many of the male athletes, this is what they do when they are not using their hands for gesturing. This is called a home base. This is a home base. Another home base is simply to have your hands at your side, right? Another home base is if you are sitting behind a table, is to just have your hands on the table in front of you. You can have them like this, or you can just have them down where you're moving your papers. You don't ever have something in your hand. No pens, no pencils, no pointers, never, all right? So you don't need anything in your hands other than sometimes you can have your notes. So like what I do is I stand here and I refer to my notes. You can do that, and you can do that with your cards, note cards or your printing. But when you're holding your notes, make sure that you keep them quiet. So don't noisily shift through your cards, your note cards. So always deal with your papers, your note cards very quietly. Another thing you can do is if you're standing behind a podium, so we're going to pretend. Actually, I could use this for a podium. Check it out. Can you see? This is a podium. Well, I guess you really can't see. Wait, hold it up. All right, so if this was a podium, you could also do what's called the fingertip touch, where you could lightly put your fingertips on the edge of the podium so that it's easy and fast to be able to refer to your notes and to slide your notes over. Do not staple notes. Because if you staple notes and you're going through them, you're going to do that. And do not print on the back side of notes or even on the back side of cards, because that's going to require you to do this kind of thing, right? You don't really want your audience to notice your notes. So try and be as clear and calm and invisible as you can with notes. Now, your hands need to be visual aids. So honestly, that means that you're going to use them to emphasize words, or to talk about the past, or to help your audience, think about that future, that vision that you can see out there. It might be to talk about the size of a basketball that you're going to be shooting, or it could be, anything like that. And oftentimes you choreograph those gestures actually in your speech, all right? So you might say something like, at this point, make a fist, or, that kind of a fist. So it's a reminder in your script. Remember, it's a script of things to do to help create some, what we call animation, activity, movement in your speech. Now, let's talk about your face. I want you to think of your face like an emoticon, Okay, I got red all over me. Emoticon. And you think about all of those happy faces, sad faces, mad faces. And what is it that they're doing with their faces to communicate a feeling or emphasis or what have you? Eyebrows. Raise one eyebrow. I am envious because I cannot. But oftentimes somebody who can do the one eyebrow raise can, give sort of a sinister look. Might be, the scrunching on the eyebrows, you're mad or you're confused or that kind of thing. Coupled with your mouth, then you're grimacing or you're excited or happy. And you notice that when I'm doing these things, I'm kind of shifting my head, I'm moving it. So, and sometimes maybe I might even, so you play with your body in front of the audience. Well, not literally, but you play with your face, you play with everything in front of a mirror so that you can get some ideas of how to add interest into your speech. Don't just be a talking head. Hi, my name is. Today I'm going to say happy anniversary to my grandparents because, well, they're my grandparents. No. Okay. So add some fun into it, some interest in it, make it really, really good. As hands and face, we'll talk about the rest tomorrow. Next class. Make sure you watch the videos so that you get it, some helpful hints. And I have for you today.